Today's AskReddit post. Happily married couples of Reddit. What are some serious issues that have plagued your otherwise great relationship? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. The hardest things have ever been for us was when we let others dictate our relationship. My mom was always an enemy of our relationship, and her sister was always against us. As soon as we stopped letting them have opinions on us, our lives became infinitely better. Misery loves company becomes so blatantly true when you are in a loving relationship. This is why it's so important to have the ability to evaluate criticism for validity instead of blindly accepting it. The most miserable people I've met are always the most insistent that everyone else's marriage secretly or inevitably sucks. My wife's aunt keeps telling her that her happiness in our marriage will disappear by next year. We've been together almost 10 years at this point, and we are still increasingly happy together with each passing year. No longer a pain point, but is a good reminder. Just talk. Don't internalize your stresses/fears/etc. All that happens when you hold things in is that vacuum is filled with assumptions that benefit neither you or your spouse. Different intercourse drives. Yep, I've experienced both being the partner with a lower intercourse drive and, more recently, being the one with the higher intercourse drive. Both were extremely difficult on our relationship and have been some of the most vulnerable and sensitive times for either of us. This is a rough one. I've also been in both situations. Lovely bloke, married for 28 years, only man for me, but he talks me through his golf games and he plays 3 times a week. I smile and nod. I figure if that's our only issue, I'm a lucky woman. My wife does this sort of thing. It's at its worst when someone else has cornered her and put her through a long, boring, almost unbearable conversation, and then she tells me the story about it, including the long, boring, almost unbearable conversation as part of the story in its entirety. That's called troubles talk. Neither of us have many friends, so we rely on each other to meet too many of our needs. Both introverts. Yup. Thankfully we share a lot of interests, so it's not too bad. Not enough time for ourselves. We both have big families and friend circles. If we are not seeing my friends, we are seeing her friends. If we are not seeing her family, we are seeing my family. This is on top of working long hours and being fairly introverted to boot. We have to schedule dates and alone time so we can recover. Honestly, I couldn't imagine managing all this with anyone else, and I'm so thankful for her. Kids put an incredible amount of stress on a relationship. Almost all of our major arguments have been about our kids. It surprised us because we talked a lot before having kids and we agreed on the big issues. But the devil is in the details. We were raised quite differently, and what I saw as normal, he saw as too permissive and coddling. He saw himself as strict, but what I saw was anger, ultimatums he couldn't keep, and criticism. Kids are grown up now and doing well. We love our kids and are glad we had them, but the empty nest is better for our marriage. Stubbornness. You cannot be stubborn in a marriage. You must be able to give, take. Be self-aware of your giving and taking, and be able to communicate about the nature of each other's gives and takes. I've seen the results of stubbornness in my roommate's marriage. Wife will not budge on anything ever. She gets an idea in her head and that is the way it has to be. Doing anything different will start a fight. Her husband is so done with dealing with it, he just does whatever she wants, no matter what it is. He's tried standing up to her a couple of times and she absolutely rips him to shreds. There's a lot wrong in that relationship, but a lot of it comes from stubbornness. My wife passed away too soon. I'm still in love with her. Same Earl. Last year after 35 years together. Thought we had at least another 20 years. Never knew this kind of loneliness. I'm sorry for your loss. I hope you're doing well. My husband has a serious phone addiction. He's always on it, whether it's in the bathroom, to in bed, movie night, just the two of us. During meals, we can't even eat out without him having to check his phone, for social reasons, not even work related reasons. I've discussed this with him multiple times and it's in one ear out the other. My husband is like this, but usually with phone games. It's because he has ADHD, but that doesn't make it any less frustrating. He can put it away, but unless he is doing something he finds interesting, he gets really antsy and fidgety. If we are trying to get something done, I constantly have to tell him to put his phone down and keep going. I don't blame him for needing to keep himself busy, but when it's getting in the way of him getting stuff done, or actually being present, it becomes a problem. Oldest stepkid, 20 meters, is rapid cycle bipolar, epileptic, bulimic, and on the spectrum. We are on the same page and dealing with things the best we can, but his condition disrupts every aspect of our life. Met my husband when my kid was 5. Didn't know anything was going on at the time, but she developed neurological/mental health issues that disrupted every day for the entire family for about 6 years. Finally under control, but took lots of patience and guidance from therapists. My husband has been so supportive. A good partner and step parent can make such a difference. Holidays. My wife's parents are divorced, so we have 3 different families we're trying to please plus our own. So basically whenever Christmas comes around, we need to find time to celebrate for ourselves. My parents/siblings, her dad, her mom/grandma. It's such a pain having to schedule early holidays and traveling all over the state to visit everyone. Our marriage didn't start being as amazing as it is now until we both put in the work in couples therapy and individual therapy. We were both 2 severely traumatized individuals who weren't communicating with each other in a way we both understood. After we got our handy translator, damn, it has been amazing. Same. Therapy made us stronger and better communicators, which made us better human beings to ourselves and each other. I'm an oversharer, she is an undersharer. Multiple times in our relationship she had hid things from me because she didn't want me to be disappointed in her lost wedding ring. Multiple car accidents, small but still required paperwork. We have been together almost 20 years. She has learned that if I'm not oversharing, I'm not in a good way. To this day I still need to probe her when I think something is wrong. Together we communicate very well except for the few extremes noted above. We are both planners, so constantly taking about what we have going on is a good way to keep communication open. Also kids. Mismatched libido. We have child with special needs and had money problems. We survived and now are stronger, but it was very hard for 2 years. We've been dealing with cancer for 2 years. In my experience, tiny day in and day out things stack up fast in those times. You have my sympathy for the tough road you've been on. We were fighting with big stuff, but little things add up so much. We started yelling at each other and snapping for small stuff. I'm really happy that we made it. We have a lifelong way ahead of us. But first bump is closed. I hope your fight is successful. Her drinking. More than 1 year sober now. She's amazing. D. This internet stranger is proud of you both. Other people's interference. Whether it be work wives/husbands, mother-in-laws, or siblings. I want to hear the work wife story. Deciding what the heck is for dinner every night. We deal with this too. We finally made a list of 6 carb we like, 6 vegetable and 6 protein, and bought it. And each day we pick one from each category that looks good and make it. Easier than picking what recipe to make. OMG, I need to try Fizzle. Would make meal planning much easier. My mother-in-law. After years of abuse from her I went no contact, and he is low contact. The day my wife finally learned and cut her off I celebrated in my head. My next goal is moving to a new house and no one telling her where we live. We at least moved to another state. But prior to that she randomly bought a house down the street from us, and I was just miserable. She would show up randomly until my husband told her to cut it out. Now that we are in a different state my mental health has improved. A child with behavior issues and a wife with chronic pain and fatigue will cause some serious issues. As a wife with chronic pain issues and a husband that has chronic pain issues, it takes a toll on the marriage. We're lucky we understand each other. The amount of empty Amazon boxes that appear in the garage. Haha, I do this. Being tired, stressed, luckily never redirected to each other. On a lighter note, the fact I'm a night owl and he's a freaking early riser who wants to start the day doing stuff and talking and biting the morning on the ass. I need half an hour to understand what year it is and drag my half asleep self to the kitchen. Our intercourse drives. Our friends always joke that we are couple goals, but our intercourse life isn't great. I'm on anxiety meds that make me have almost no intercourse drive, and even though we don't fight about it often, when we do fight about it, it's a big fight that usually leads to me crying and self-loathing, and well, more anxiety. I so badly want to be more spontaneous and in the mood for it because I know he's hurting and I would do anything to make him happy. Zaloft was a stone bitch to get through. Putting a note in my calendar the day before to take the time to get into our intercourse it and initiate intercourse the following day helped. Well, Batrin works a lot better now. This AskReddit has been up too long for people to see this, but we both believe the way in which the other washes the dishes is incorrect. So, we actively help each other complete the task so we can influence how it's done. Some people may see this as sharing the chores and being a loving couple, but I can assure you it is not. Yes, the washing up is complete in half the time it normally would be done. Yes, we tag team other chores. This is different. Scrubs and soaps everything and leaves in a pile. Then rinses and sets to dry. Me washes and rinses each item individually, then sets to dry. It's madness. Really, I wrote this in a light-hearted manner. Don't drag me. Childhood trauma. My husband won't watch TV with subtitles. Lameo serious issue for Sua here. Alcohol. He is a wonderful man 98% of the time, and not a regular drinker, but the rare times he drank and got a little intoxicated, it turned into a complete nightmare and caused some emotional damage that I don't know if I will ever forget or get over. I despise alcohol and have never seen anything good come from it. Plus, I had some things happen to me as a teen that involved alcohol, so that doesn't help matters either. Caused some emotional damage that I don't know if I will ever forget or get over. I feel this completely. I cannot separate the way someone behaves while intoxicated from their sober self. It's a package deal. Having toxic single friends that tell you to break up every time you just try to vent about something frustrating instead of lifting you up. They'll take you down by agreeing with everything you say. On the surface that sounds like a good thing. It isn't. Be careful. Splitting up household tasks. It's tough when one partner feels like they're doing an unfair share of the work. It can also be tough when the other partner tries to anticipate their partner's perception of the workload. As always, communication is key, and don't keep score on who's doing how much. Once we got that down, things have been super smooth. Know what might help? Make a list of chores. Then label each one 1 to 10 how much you want to do it. Lower numbers mean a greater dislike. We weren't this structured, but after some talks long ago we found that I loathe emptying the dishwasher, but don't mind refilling. She's the opposite. If you can divide based on preferences as opposed to quantity, it can be better. The periods when their depression and anxiety is at its worst. This is one of the main reasons I'm not looking for a relationship right now. My mental health is really ducking bad. Even on meds, I couldn't subject another person to this. On a related note, some of my friends suggested a pet. My reasons were the same. I wouldn't even put an animal through it, even though I adore animals. Honestly, having exterior relationships. My wife has an amazing work from home job, but because of that, her ability to build relationships is really challenged. She's naturally introverted, so it's hard for her to find and maintain friendships. Whereas, because I work in office, it has been easy for me to build relationships. My wife and I went through this issue. She works in a hospital and interacts with like 100 people a day. I work from home and don't interact with anyone. So she would come home with her social battery totally depleted and mine was on 100%. But yeah, it also hurts identity because now most of the social gatherings, her identity is primarily S wife or S mom, and that isn't fair. Is a divorce lawyer that woke up and decided to expand their client base. He tends to side with others over me and always gets on my case to apologize and let things go, even when it's not my fault. People have been completely rude to me right in front of him, but if I respond to them in kind, he will later tell me he thought my response was really rude and make an excuse for the other person. When I point out that I've just matched their energy, he says he didn't see it that way. When I try to talk to him about this, he completely misses the point and focuses on some aspect that doesn't even matter, which ends with us talking in circles and me getting incredibly angry and frustrated, which makes him angry and frustrated. But I'm in therapy to work on my anger problems and, by extension, my communication skills. So we'll see where it gets me. An awful mother-in-law. How about an overbearing mother-in-law? Sex and money. Don't waste money and don't get complacent in the bedroom. Username checks out. Infertility. Yes. The emotions. The miscarriages. The 30-40k spent on treatments. The grief and loss. It's a poopty club. Coops, I'm sorry. Multiple miscarriages damaged us individually and caused us some issues as a couple. We got past it, but we both still have some raw spots. Being home alone. We are basically never apart. Maximum a few days per year. Sometimes I miss having my own place, but I would never want to be without her. I just wish I had the house to myself a few times more per year. Me and my partner plan frequent sleepovers / night outs with our own friends / us. We also frequently visit our family individually and stay there for a night or two. Distance from time to time indeed made the relationship better. I was a victim of CSA and other things throughout my life, so I'm still dealing with a lot of trauma. My wife is an absolute saint for putting up with me though. I have trauma from so much poop. I have no idea how my husband deals with me and still is happy to have me around. You'd think that after as many sleepless nights as I've given her through tossing and turning myself, she'd have said something at once though. Dear Lord, can someone else please make the decision of what to eat for dinner every night? Pretty much the only thing we argue about these days. Two things, money and schedules. Having no money a big stressor. The bigger one for me though was when I moved to working nights. I'd come home at midnight and not ready to sleep, but my wife would get upset at me making racket and watching TV. Then I'd be asleep during the day because I was working nights. So I wasn't able to really pull much weight with housework or taking care of our kid. So she was doing the vast bulk of that while also working full time. So that caused a big rift. But we got through it, and thankfully I only worked nights for like 6 months. Lack of communication. But for the most part we've overcome that. It definitely is hard to reconcile differences when you don't say what you really think and feel. My overbearing mother-in-law. How are these things so common? Like what happens to make meals this way? Can't they just chill? Why so many meals and so few fills? I love my husband to death. He is my best friend and the man of my dreams. However, he is very cheap with money. Unless it comes to something he wants, then it's okay to splurge. He's been working on it, but it pisses me off sometimes, like you would not believe. Also, he had a hard time saying no to his mom. She can be quite overbearing. My partner's porn addiction. Deciding what to eat. Having to become long distance because of work. It worked out for us. 13 years strong. LDR 4 years 2 and 3. Good for you guys. I need some advice. We have been together 5 years. Married for 2 years now. We had to become long distance 2 meters ago and expected to go on this way for 2 more years at least. And it's hard for me not to feel lonely and disconnected. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.